In this podcast episode, the hosts welcome back Dr. James Lindsay, a prominent critic of woke ideology. The conversation delves into the current state of wokeness in the United States, the implications of recent political shifts, and the broader cultural landscape. Lindsay begins by describing wokeness as a zombie ideology. He argues that while much of the American populace has moved on from wokeness and expresses disdain for it, the institutions that promote it remain entrenched. This creates a paradox where the ideology is effectively dead, yet its remnants continue to exert influence, akin to a zombie that lumbers on despite being lifeless. Lindsay suggests that the institutions, particularly universities, will only begin to reform when they recognize that the products they are producing, namely, graduates steeped in woke ideology, are no longer marketable. He emphasizes that the recent political landscape, particularly the election of Donald Trump, has dealt a significant blow to wokeness as a popular movement. The backlash against identity politics and the manipulation associated with it indicates a growing desire among the public to move away from these divisive narratives. However, the institutions that have adopted wokeness as a guiding principle are resistant to change, creating a tension between popular sentiment and institutional adherence to outdated ideologies. Lindsay elaborates on the role of institutions in perpetuating wokeness, particularly focusing on academia. He argues that universities have been the breeding ground for woke ideology, producing graduates who are often ill-equipped for the real world. The disconnect between what these institutions produce and what the job market demands is becoming increasingly apparent. As industries begin to recognize the inadequacies of graduates from these institutions, there is potential for a significant shift in how education is approached. The conversation also touches on the influence of corporate America, particularly in relation to environmental, social, and governance (ESG) criteria. Lindsay notes that while corporations have adopted woke principles, there is a growing sentiment among professionals that these practices are not sustainable. The disconnect between corporate messaging and the realities of the workforce may lead to a re-evaluation of how businesses engage with social issues, potentially paving the way for a more pragmatic approach. As the discussion progresses, Lindsay highlights the shifting dynamics within the center-left. He posits that many individuals within this group have long viewed wokeness as problematic, but have been too afraid to voice their concerns. However, the recent political developments may embolden these individuals to speak out against the excesses of wokeness. The realization that silence may lead to further losses could catalyze a movement within the center-left to distance itself from the more extreme elements of the left. This newfound courage among the center-left could lead to a broader reevaluation of political strategies and messaging. Lindsay suggests that as more people recognize the failures of wokeness, there may be a collective effort to reclaim a more moderate and sensible approach to social issues. This shift could ultimately benefit the political landscape by fostering more constructive dialogue and reducing polarization. The conversation also delves into the impact of social media on the dissemination of woke ideology. Lindsay argues that social media platforms have played a crucial role in amplifying extreme views, creating echo chambers that reinforce divisive narratives. He notes that while platforms like Twitter, now X, have the potential to facilitate open dialogue, they are also susceptible to manipulation by bots and foreign actors seeking to sow discord. Lindsay emphasizes the need for a more discerning approach to social media engagement. He suggests that individuals must be aware of the potential for misinformation and manipulation, particularly in a politically charged environment. By fostering critical thinking and encouraging open dialogue, there is an opportunity to counteract the negative effects of social media on public discourse. As the discussion shifts to the emergence of the woke right, Lindsay provides insight into this new faction within conservative politics. He describes the woke right as a reactionary movement that mirrors the tactics of the left, employing identity politics and grievance narratives to mobilize support. This phenomenon raises concerns about the potential for further polarization within the conservative movement, as factions vie for influence and power. Lindsay argues that the woke rights approach is ultimately counterproductive, as it perpetuates the same divisive dynamics that have plagued the left. He warns that if the conservative movement does not address these issues, it risks becoming unelectable in the future. The challenge lies in finding a way to unify the movement around shared principles rather than allowing infighting to undermine its effectiveness. Throughout the conversation, Lindsay acknowledges the presence of true believers within both the woke left and the woke right. He notes that while many individuals may be drawn to these ideologies out of frustration or a desire for belonging, there are also those who genuinely believe in the principles being espoused. This complicates the landscape, as it becomes increasingly difficult to engage in constructive dialogue with individuals who are deeply entrenched in their beliefs. Lindsay emphasizes the importance of recognizing the motivations behind these beliefs. By understanding the psychological and social factors that drive individuals toward extreme ideologies, there is potential for more effective communication and outreach. This approach could help bridge the divide between opposing factions and foster a more inclusive political environment. As the conversation continues, Lindsay expresses skepticism about the future of academia in light of the current political climate. He argues that the entrenched nature of woke ideology within universities makes meaningful reform unlikely in the near term. The academic environment has become a bastion of progressive thought, and efforts to challenge the status quo face significant resistance. However, Lindsay also points to the potential for alternative educational models to emerge. As dissatisfaction with traditional universities grows, there may be opportunities for new institutions to rise that prioritize critical thinking and intellectual diversity. This shift could ultimately lead to a more balanced educational landscape, where diverse perspectives are valued and encouraged. The discussion also touches on the role of media in shaping public perceptions of wokeness. Lindsay argues that mainstream media outlets have largely perpetuated woke narratives, often at the expense of nuanced discussions. This has created a distorted view of reality, where extreme viewpoints are amplified while moderate voices are marginalized. Lindsay suggests that the rise of alternative media platforms presents an opportunity to challenge the dominant narratives perpetuated by mainstream outlets. By fostering a more diverse media landscape, there is potential for more balanced discussions around contentious issues. This shift could help counteract the polarization that has characterized recent political discourse. As the conversation progresses, Lindsay raises concerns about the potential for political violence in the current climate. He warns that as tensions rise and divisions deepen, there is a risk of individuals resorting to extreme measures to express their frustrations. This could manifest in various forms, from protests to more violent confrontations. Lindsay emphasizes the importance of addressing the underlying issues that contribute to political violence. By fostering open dialogue and encouraging constructive engagement, there is potential to mitigate the risks associated with escalating tensions. This approach could help create a more stable political environment where individuals feel heard and valued. Throughout the podcast, Lindsay underscores the need for discernment in navigating the complex political landscape. He argues that individuals must be vigilant in recognizing the motivations behind various movements and ideologies. This awareness is crucial for making informed decisions and engaging in meaningful discussions. Lindsay encourages listeners to critically evaluate the information they consume and to seek out diverse perspectives. By fostering a culture of discernment, there is potential to counteract the divisive narratives that have become prevalent in contemporary discourse. This approach could ultimately lead to a more informed and engaged citizenry. In concluding the discussion, Lindsay expresses cautious optimism about the future. He acknowledges the challenges posed by entrenched ideologies and the potential for further polarization. However, he also sees opportunities for growth and change, particularly as individuals begin to recognize the limitations of extreme positions. Lindsay emphasizes the importance of unity and collaboration in moving forward. By focusing on shared values and principles, there is potential to build a more inclusive political environment. This approach could help bridge the divides that have characterized recent political discourse and pave the way for a more constructive future.